All right, everybody. Professor Will back again with another Azure lab demo. This is going to be our second lab demo, taking you through some of the kind of routine tasks that you would pursue when working in the Microsoft Azure cloud platform. This lab won't be that long, but it's going to go through a really kind of interesting and core concept in cloud, and that's this concept of cloud-based storage. Um, we know that in the world of cloud, storage was one of the first solutions that was introduced. Storage that's separate from your client system. So we use it all the time now. People back up their phones, back up their family pictures and things to the cloud. Maybe not using an enterprise system like this, but some type of cloud storage. So it's a really important concept, not just for individuals, but also in the enterprise. So there'll be instances where, as a cloud engineer, you'll need to create cloud-based storage objects or containers, as Microsoft calls them, in order to hold things like images and other unstructured data. Microsoft has a couple of different types of storage that they offer, storage solutions that they offer. As a matter of fact, if you go to our all services here and we look at the different storage options available. And let me make sure I'm sharing my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. Yep. And we see our different storage options here, all right, for services rather. There's a plethora of different types of storage solutions that we can use. We're going to start off with a really basic and key one called blob storage. Blob is storage. Azure Blob storage is important because it allows us to store what they call unstructured data. Um, if you've worked with databases or things like that before, then you might be familiar with the concept of structured data. That's data that has to align to a specific format. Think of like a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet where you have columns and rows, and a column of in that table is going to hold a certain type of data, and then within that row you have to put in the specific data that aligns to that column and row, or the cell that it creates. With a blob, though, you can put it whatever type of data inside of that you want. It can be, numerical, uh, words. It could be a picture. It could be a video file. Doesn't matter. The blob storage is able to accommodate it because it converts everything into binary before it stores it. So again, blob storage really important because we put a lot of multimedia data online now, and back being able to store it and back it up into the cloud, really important. So let's go through the process of creating our storage account and containers, and then let's upload a couple of images to the storage, and then show how we can manage that. So first up, we need to be logged into our Azure portal. So portal.azure.com will get you there, assuming you have an account already and a valid subscription. Once you get to that Azure portal, then you're going to go to the hamburger stack, the three lines over here in the corner. It's a quick way to get to all of the different services that Azure has to offer. If you want to see everything, you hit the all services, but we're specifically going to be going to a service called storage accounts. So I can click there, but I'll show you the long way. So we'll click the hamburger stack. We'll go to all services. We'll go to storage, and then underneath of storage, the all of the different storage services that we have here, there's an option for storage accounts there. So we'll click that. Once we're in the storage accounts area, we can actually create a storage account. So before we can actually start storing stuff, we need an account that is allows us to create storage containers. So we're going to go ahead and hit that create button. I gotta make sure I have the right license selected. There we go. So sorry, subscription. So I got my right subscription selected. Before I can move forward, I have to create a resource group. Like I mentioned in Azure Lab 1, for those who watched that video, if you haven't, you can go back and watch that. Resource groups are a good way to keep all of the other kind of dependent resources that you have for the different cloud components that you're building, keep them organized. So think of resource group as a container to hold all of the different things that in this case, this storage account is going to need in order to run. So I got to create a resource group. So I'm going to hit create new, and I'm going to call my resource group test 24 group. Okay. Just needs to be something unique. And it looks like it took that one. So now I have my resource group and I can move forward with actually creating my actual storage account. Give my storage account a name. This has to also be globally unique throughout Azure. If it's not, it's going to give me an error message. So let's try this and see if it likes it. I'll know once I go to review and create. I'm going to leave my region set to US, East US, but again, depending on where your users are or where you are, if you're trying to limit your latency when accessing this resource, you'll just choose a region that you live in or that's close to you, or that's close to your users, depending again who's accessing it. Next, we have performance. So this is another option that we have to attempt to reduce latency. But this is one of those things where we see the cloud, some of the not, I won't say drawbacks, but some of that pay for what you get aspect of the cloud. If I use the standard general purpose performance, which might have some latency in it, lag in time when uploading or downloading things like files, then I'll pay one rate. But if I choose the premium uh, performance, which will have a lower latency, means faster uploads, faster downloads, then I get that increased performance, but I have to pay a premium price. I'm going to go ahead and keep the standard general purpose performance set, but I am going to change my redundancy. Right now, you can see it's set to geo redundant storage. So if I click on the drop down menu, I get a little description here. It says geo redundant storage, or GRS, is going to give me is an intermediate option with failover capabilities in a second region. So what that means is if one region goes down or becomes unavailable for some reason, my data is being replicated to an entirely different region. So let's say my region I'm deploying in is US East. I might also have that if I have the geo redundant storage, my data might also be being replicated to US West on the West Coast. East Coast goes down, my data is still available because it's also available on the West Coast. There's also this zone redundancy where within I can have outside of a region, I can have redundancy within a different availability zones within a region, but I'm just going to go with the locally redundant, meaning that within the same data center, my data is going to be replicated on another rack. So if in that single data center, a server rack goes down, my data is in another server rack that should hopefully still be up and running. This is only recommended for like non-critical stuff. If I was uploading some like very sensitive, important data, I might splurge and go with a better redundancy solution. But for our purposes, the local redundant storage is perfectly fine. So we're gonna go with that one. There's a bunch of other more advanced options that you could choose from, but again, we're just learning the basics right now. So let's go ahead and just take the basic setup and hit review. You see our system doing a validation check to make sure that username, group names are unique enough globally. And now that all of our settings are good, and you can see I also picked up some other default settings here for security and data protection and encryption. And you can read through those to get a better understanding of what those default settings are for your blob storage. But once that validation finishes, I can hit the create button and allow that to deploy. So this should only take a few seconds, well, 30 seconds or so. Then once that finishes deploying, I'll now have my, I'll have the ability to begin creating storage containers. All right, so now we're up and running. What I can do is if I went back to the Microsoft homepage, I would now see that storage resource created, or I can hit go to resources and it'll take me directly to that storage account. So as you can see, I click that. I have the storage account created. It has the blob service enabled with all the settings that we saw in our preview screen. Next thing I want to do is create a place for me to actually store files. So the storage account gives me ability to store files, but nothing to store them in. In order to create that, I'm going to go down from my storage account to where it says containers. I'm going to click containers, and currently I only have one container, and that's for my log files. So that'll be a default one where any transactional logs get stored, but I can't really save anything. The system's using that one. Now, if I want to store some stuff, I got to hit this plus sign by container, and then I get my option for creating my unique container. This is another one of those things that need to be globally unique as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my container a name. I'm going to call it my last name, and then I'm going to say container 1. This option here is grayed out. You see where it says anonymous access level, set to private, no anonymous access. So that's a default setting for security purposes. So I can't change that. I'm going to leave it set to that. And I'll hit create. A few seconds later, now I have my Sanders container all set, Sanders container 1 all set, and it's ready to hold some files. If I click on it, I get a new menu where now I have an upload option. All right, so now that we have this container and we have our upload option here, let's upload something. I've already got a couple cool pictures that I want to upload into this blob storage. So I'm going to go ahead and click on upload. And then I'm going to get this new pop-up here, upload blob. If I have my desktop visible, I could drag some stuff over there and drop it in. But I'm going to go ahead and browse for files. Go to my downloads, got some cool car pictures here that I'm going to upload, and then select them and then tell it to open. Once those have been recognized, you see I have an option here. If I'm replacing previous files of the same name, I can say overwrite if they exist. These are all brand new, and this is a brand new container, so I don't have to worry about that. I can just hit the upload button. And then just like that, here are my car pictures. If I can click on one of them, I can see some of the details of the file itself. I can also see by clicking on that individual file, I have a download option. So again, cloud-based storage. I upload it from one system anywhere in the world, really. As long as it's internet connected, I can go on any other system and pull it down, or I can share it with other systems, other users, and they can download those images or whatever the data is from my blob storage here. I can also manage these. So let's say, for example, I don't need car pictures 2 or 3 anymore. Go ahead and check box those. And then if I do a right mouse button click, I see a delete option here, or if I go to the top toolbar up at the top of the screen, I see there's a delete option there as well. So let's say I want to get rid of those two. Just check them, hit delete, and delete their snapshots. It's like a backup copy of them. They're gone, just like that. Now, if I need to get rid of the whole thing, the entire container, then I can actually just use my breadcrumbs here to go backwards, go back to my storage account. Make sure I got the right subscription again. And then under my containers menu, there's that whole container, the containers, and there's that Sanders container one. So if I delete the whole container, I get rid of all the pictures at once. Um, I don't really need the entire storage group. Remember, the resource group rather allows me to manage everything related to this storage container, which includes the storage account. I don't need any of it, so I'm going to get rid of the entire resource group. So I want to go back to my services. Actually, I'm going back to the main screen, and I want to look for that resource group. Here we go. That's my recent resource group. And this entire resource group is now selected, test 24 group. And then there's my delete resource group option. So I'm just going to click on that to verify I really want to delete this. And this is pretty typical with big deletions like this. They want to make sure you don't accidentally click on anything and delete it. So the verification process is I got to either retype or I can copy and paste the name of the thing I want to delete there. And now the delete button is highlight it's not grayed out anymore. I can click it, and now that resource group in a second will be gone. Let's refresh. There we go. No resources. All right, so that's a little quick lab, at least to show you how to do some basic storage service management in Azure. Hopefully you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.